wanted to do with this Articles of Confederation lecture is really kind of have it directed by you guys in a lot of ways. Second Continental Congress is called in 1775 after Lexington and Concord. They are the ones that declare independence. They are the ones that kind of run the war effort poorly for many years. But they're not an official government, although they are acting like one. So one of the first things they said was, hey, we need to establish kind of this official government. And so they wrote what became America's first constitution, which we call, and they call, the Articles of Confederation. And what I wanted to do with this lecture today is show you that the Articles specifically came from a place where it comes from a place that makes sense. Because what they do is they are a very clear response to Britain's misrule in the 1750s, 60s, and 70s. So what I wanted to do today was go around the room and ask, we're going to go table by table, what was something that pissed the colonists off about the British government that they went and dealt with when they made up their own government? Does that question make sense?
Yes.
Why, what would the founders put in their first constitution with the history of what Great Britain had done kind of relevant on their mind? Because the same people that are writing the Articles of Confederation are the same people that, were the leadership during all of this crisis with the British. So let's see if we can list out several of them. Problems they had with the British, criticisms they had of the British, their own point of view on particular things. So we're going to start over here, and we are going to work our way this way. Each table's got to come up with something, a problem that the colonists had under British rule. So, all right, agree, man. No, as a table. So someone on the table's got to come up with something for me.
Like they were forced to take any soldiers or whatever. The Articles of Confederation, they say
All right, so what do you got? Go ahead, Freeman.
Okay, well, the British colonies, so like they made the colonists take care of their soldiers, so then for the Articles of Confederation, they said that they didn't have to, like, it wasn't mandatory.
Let's go even broader than that. What's the problem with British soldiers in the first place? In the first place.
Oh, they were the colonies.
In the first place. In the first place. In the first place. Why are they tyrannical? Because they are
established.
What do you mean established?
As in
They're professional. They are, what's the term? They are a
professional army.
They are a, what's the term we get? A what? A standing army. So one of the problems that the colonists have with Britain is Britain has a standing army. So, what do you think is going to go in the Articles of Confederation?
No standing.
No standing army.
Oh. But shouldn't we kind of go against that?
No permanent standing army. That the defense of the country was entrusted to what? What?
Militia.
Militia. State militia. Under the Articles of Confederation, after the war is won, the United States Army disbands. There is no professional standing army in the United States. Defense is left up to militias. Good. What else? This table.
Taxation.
Taxation without representation. Good. The colonists and now the Americans only wish to be taxed by whom?
Themselves.
in their own, well, they're not colonies anymore, now they are states. So the Articles of Confederation, no power to tax. The Confederation government at the capital of Philadelphia had no power to tax individuals or states. It could ask for money, but it was not legally able to tax. The power to tax remained where? At what level? At the state level. Good, Esther. What else are Americans complaining about during the British rule in the 1760s and early 1770s?
You can't like force somebody not to trade with somebody else. Was that?
All right, good. Mercantilism and trade. Trade was left up again to whom?
British.
The British? No, we're independent.
Oh,
now.
left up.
They're not colonies anymore. So states. So the Confederation government, no power over trade. Good. What else?
We said slavery.
I'm sorry?
Slavery. They criticized the British for causing slavery.
Yeah, but that wasn't it. They made Jefferson take that out of the Declaration of Independence. What else over there? What else did we complain about concerning British colonial rule? We didn't like their standing army. We didn't like taxation and representation. We didn't like their running our economy.
They're stamp act and stuff like
Well,
that.
that's taxation.
Oh,
What about it?
Yeah, like the British, even though they were in England, they were still kind of controlling the
Parliament. Oh no, power.
So, the Articles of Confederation provided for what kind of central government?
Weak.
A very weak government. That needed
What?
unanimity. What is unanimity?
It's universal.
Universal. For anything to pass, so the Articles of Confederation. So let's go with this powerful government thing. So it's a weak. What do we mean by a weak government? Yeah, a government doesn't do much. It's a weak government. There is no executive. There's no president. There's no executive branch in the Articles of Government. There's no judicial branch. There's only, what's left? There's only a legislative branch. And to pass, and now, how do you think they voted in this legislative branch? What makes up, this is kind of a key question here, what makes up the Articles of Confederation? What is the thing? First, well, all right, so let's kind of look at the name of it. What is a confederation?
A group of people.
It's not a group of people. I mean, it can be a group of people, but the more important fact here is that a confederation is not a group of people necessarily, but just a what? A group. A group. A confederation is a group. A group, if I make a confederation, what am I doing? I'm making a group. A group of what?
Articles.
What are we, if we are drawing up articles are a list, a group of, and articles to make a confederation, a list to make a group of something. What are we making a group of?
Laws.
No. starting off but a group is what? Things that are together that used to be apart. What is being confederated? It is a verb to confederate. The states. Good. The Articles of Confederation group together what? The states. 13 of them. New Hampshire, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. It makes a group of states. That's it. So, in this legislature, how do you think the legislature voted if this government is a group of states? They voted by
Each state had one vote.
state. Very simple. There's only a legislature that votes by state, and to pass anything, you need unanimity.
States.
Go ahead, Louis.
You needed all the states to agree.
You need to pass anything, all the states needed to agree. Votes by states, one vote per state.
So it's not majority?
Nope. And you need
100%.
unanimity.
That's terrible.
What is the point of a government where you are not allowed to have a standing army, no power to tax, no power over trade, a weak government, there's no executive, no judiciary, and the legislature needs unanimity to pass anything? Why did they set it up? These are smart guys. It's the same people that are signing the Declaration of Independence and signing writing the Constitution. Why a government like this? What's the motive behind this setup?
So like control,
To control what?
to control the colonies.
First of all, there's no colonies. Are you going, so Kiani, are you going to be able to control the states with the government with no standing army, no power to tax, no power over trade, and a weak government? Kiani? Kiani? Yes? By what means? Look at the question. So what is the motive? Who has more power? This article's government or the states?
States.
States. So again, I ask the question, what is the motive? What is the motive to set up a government that looks like this?
To unify the states.
Take everybody.
What is the motive here, Ariel? Well, if we wanted to give the states the maximum amount of power, why have a confederation at all? What is the motive for this government that is not particularly powerful, John?
All the power divided between all the states.
It divides power amongst the states, okay, and what is the motive for that? Karime?
So America can have its own identity.
This is an expression of identity. There's nothing in here that says, all right, here, this is our identity, Articles of Confederation. There's a motive. All of these things, there's a reason we did this way. There's a reason why we just didn't make this list. There's a reason we started this out by listing the things that the British government did that led to what's in the Articles, Estes.
So no one person has all power.
More than that.
Oh,
You're on the right track, though. You're on the right track. Keep talking, Estes.
you know, like Parliament all had that power.
I'm sorry?
Isn't it like Parliament had all the power?
Parliament had all this power. This government doesn't because what's the motive here?
So they don't repeat the same thing.
Okay, they wouldn't repeat. And what was the thing that they're trying not to repeat?
Same government as Britain.
What's the thing that they're trying to avoid here?
They're trying to create a government that's completely the opposite of what they.
yesterday's lecture
They don't want to crowd.
on the Declaration of Independence. What is the purpose of government, Karime?
So they won't.
To maintain the right.
Hushy pants, you're not Karime.
So they won't have, control of the parliament?
Well, Parliament's out of the picture. Parliament's over in England. We're independent now. What's the motive here, Ryan?
To create a government without risking your liberty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This isn't, now remember we talked yesterday
Yeah, we have to take
that you have the circle, the whole of liberty, and that government by definition has to take a chunk of that to live in society? We remember this from yesterday? How much the Articles of Confederation, this government setup, how much liberty did it take away? A lot or a little? Very little. We have a government that is so small, in the attempt to protect individual liberty, we have a government that cannot have a standing army, cannot tax, cannot have power over trade, has no executive to enforce the law. Congress passes a law, and there's simply no way to enforce it. And it's set up that way on purpose. To pass anything, you needed unanimity. Folks, if I took the 18 of you and said, where do you want to go to dinner tonight? Do you think we would find it easy to find a unanimous? No. How many times do you sit around with your family or your friends and say, hey, what do you want to do tonight? And there's 5 people and you still can't come to a unanimous decision. Happens all the time.
That was easy. You do what I say.
Can you, if you have 13 states with motives and interests as different as little tiny Rhode Island and huge Virginia, how much do you think Rhode Island and Virginia are going to see eye to eye on, Maria? Maria, you've got to stop doing this. How much do you think Rhode Island and Virginia have in common? Not that much. So if Rhode Island and Virginia have to agree on everything, is much going to get passed at all? No, and that's the point. They don't want laws being passed. Why not? Because what is a law?
Take away liberty.
A law restricts your liberty. The fewer laws, the better. In your reading, you should be able to, so what's going to be, this does not work. Why not? I'm sorry?
Do they take advantage of
Who's they?
from the Americans?
Yeah, anybody. That you have serious problems with this right off the bat. And we're not going to go through all those problems. That's why you guys read. But the states were fighting amongst themselves. New York and New Jersey almost went to war with each other. States are putting up tariffs against other states. Nobody can get anything done because of the fact that you need unanimity. The country goes into a serious economic recession because the Continental Congress had put out to fund the war. Wars are expensive. The Congress had to find a way to pay for the war. So when a government has no other way to pay for anything, what's the government's last resort to pay for stuff? No, they don't have the power to tax. How does a government get money when it has no money? Karime?
When I read the thing, it was that they made money and then the...
Out of what?
The money. Paper.
Paper. Print money.
Oh, print.
Just print money. The government needs $100. Okay, here. Print. Here's $100. What does that lead to?
Inflation.
Inflation. Terrible inflation. Because if you're a farmer, and so the army comes to you and says, we need crops. Here's a piece of paper that says 100 on it. Well, what's your question?
What's this worth?
What the hell is this worth? I don't know. You only accept that money. Let me put it to you this way. Let's say you're a farmer in New Jersey where the British and the Americans are kind of fighting over the territory. If the British officers come and say, I'll give you $50 in gold for your crops, and then the American government comes and says, I'll give you $100 in paper for your crops, which one are you more likely to accept? The gold, because you know that's going to be worth something. What? If you have $100 from the Continental Congress and the Americans lose the war, what's that $100 worth? Zero. So what happened to the value of Continental paper money? What happened to the value of that piece of paper? Did it go up or down?
Down.
Down, big time down. So what does the government have to do if the value of its money is going down? Make more. Here's a note that says 500. All right, I'll take it. Maybe. What's gonna? But you create this inflation. That's going on in the country. That there's millions of dollars of these continental bills floating around, and no one quite knows. They're worth about 2 cents on the dollar, gold. If you went to a bank with $100 in continental money, they would give you $2 in gold for it. So the money was valueless. And the Confederation Congress had no way to deal with that problem. There are still British troops. Shoot, thank you. There are still British troops on American territory out west. And the British are, yes, we'll move them eventually. Hang on, we got it. Don't worry about it. And they're not moving. So there are serious, serious problems. The country's broke. We're being run around by Great Britain. The states are fighting with one another. And in 1780, very quickly, people start to realize this is not working. We need to change it. And tomorrow we're going to start with this, and we're going to make a new column for the Constitution. Because the Constitution is a response to this. This is a response to this. It all kind of works itself out. It all kind of makes sense. So we can assume, just as a little preview, does the Constitution give a power to have a standing army?
Yeah.
Power to tax?
Yeah.
Power to regulate trade? A stronger government? Yeah, I mean, that's tomorrow's lecture. Done. We cannot be fair to the Articles of Confederation without talking about their one success, which is the land ordinances of 1785 and 1787. And very quickly, and you can look at this in your reading, but I want to make it the land ordinance and the Northwest ordinance. 1785, 1787. Basically, a map will help us with this. Don't go anywhere.
Origins.
Why is the computer always slow when you need it in like 2 minutes? Always happens that. Holy tomato sauce.
What time is this?
5, 4.
Eighteen 87.
That's why he doesn't boy.
Guys, I'm not done. You got 5 minutes. Oh, man alive. Let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, still.
Oh, look at that. Say, United States of America, 1783, insert picture, picture.
Say it again.
All right, cool, look at that.
Look at that.
So we have your 13 original colonies, but the British also gave us in the peace settlement all the land east of the Mississippi River. The Northwest Ordinance and the Land Ordinance pretty much, because all this land was claimed by different states. Congress convinced all the states to give up their western lands. Give it to Congress. And then Congress kind of divided it in half along the Ohio River. And in this part, the Northwest Territory, Old Northwest in Sintom II, was going to be eventually turned into new what? What was all this land out here going to be turned into eventually? What? New states.
Oh.
Ohio, Indiana, Illinois,
Michigan,
Wisconsin, and Michigan.
Minnesota.
And part of Minnesota, exactly. And this was a huge thing. Those states would have equal rights with the original states. That we were not going to have a bunch of colonies. That the people who settled Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota were going to have equal rights. And another thing that the Northwest Ordinance did was it abolished slavery forever north of the Ohio River. So your boundary of slavery became the Ohio River and the Mason-Dixon line. North, south.
That's pretty bad.
It divided these areas up by a grid and then made it very easy for people to buy cheap land on the grid. You could go for a few dollars pretty much and claim 160 acres of land for not a lot of money at all. And what that does is it starts to attract lots of settlement into the Old Northwest. This is going to come to fruition after the articles are gone, but please be on the lookout when you read for the failures of the articles and for its one success. So if we go back to that block one question, how effective were the Articles of Confederation in solving the problems of the new nation? What's your answer? By and large, the Articles were a failure, a disaster. Except, this is where your thesis writing comes in, except for in the realm of land policy. That's an awesome thesis. If you were writing that essay, the Articles of Confederation were generally a complete failure with the exception of land policy. Oh! God, you write that and you're going to get a 4 and a 5 on your test. All right.
The damn. You said damn. Right?
We go to home with that.
Yes, you go to home. I don't think they're ringing the bell, so I'll let you guys know in about a minute.
That's what I called her.
You guys can go to homeroom. Have a great night. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, very nice. Long introduction. Yeah. You,